Stay cool if you're home. Gather around the TV and enjoy some baseball tonight. Cardinals back home in St. Louis. Ryan Bourne leads it off, and Bourne, the center fielder, hitting .301, 1 home run, and 32 RBIs. Not done much against the Cardinals. Houston having a historically bad season. It could be awful before it's all said and done, but they come in 33-68, 20 games back.
The Astros are on a 3-city road trip, Dan, a 10-day trip. Bourne was 7 for 14 in Chicago. I think that's the most underrated stat in all of baseball. What has a guy done in his last 3 games?
And you think about all the video that teams gather, a lot of times it's over a 2-week period and not the most recent games.
What's he doing now?
Right. So Michael Bourne, the speedster, and they say that every player right now on this Houston roster could be had. 3-2 the count. Big crowd still filing in. Will be over 35,000 tonight. Bourne hits it out of play. These fans brave the heat. We had some hot weather in the east, especially in New York. And we know about the heat here in St. Louis. Here's a fly ball out to left. Matt Holliday is under it. And there's one away. Let's take a look at the lineup for Brad Mills tonight with Bourne, Bourgeois, Pence, then Lee, Johnson, Barmes, Altuve, Quintero, and the pitcher is Happ. It's 91 degrees tonight, and a look at Kyle and his scouting report.
The scouting report on McClellan: avoid the big inning. He's had trouble with that. He also has to handle the hot Bourne and Pence. Pence is always problematic for the Cardinals, and he's got to keep from throwing hanging pitches, particularly the cutter. McClellan's given up 14 home runs so far this year.
Be curious to see how this field plays tonight. Saw that time lapse, the pregame show, and there's a base hit for Bourgeois, who can really run. He's on his way to second base and in with a 1-out double. But we understand that this surface is supposed to play a little bit faster than prior to the All-Star break.
Taking a pitch up in the zone, taking it the other way. Bourgeois, I don't know how he's not in the lineup more often. Batting .350, runs well, 17 stolen bases, and really just basically over 100 at-bats. He should have more.
You saw that John Jay is in right. You know, Tony La Russa would love to have Berkman going against his former team. He's had great numbers against Houston this year, but he's dealing with a sore shoulder. We'll have more on that coming up in the 3rd inning with Jim Hayes. Hunter Pence is hitting .308. Up the middle, backhanded very nicely by Nick Punto. He was playing towards the bag, and Hunter Pence thought he had a base hit and RBI. Look at the Cardinals defense tonight, which is presented by Dobbs. Holliday, Rasmus, and Jay in the outfield. Freeze, Terrio, Punto, and Pujols along the infield. And our battery tonight: Kyle McClellan, the St. Louisan, and Yadier Molina. Reports that say Colby Rasmus could be traded to the White Sox, and in the starting lineup tonight, playing center field. Carlos Lee hitting .277. 8 home runs. He's driven in 53. Your experience, Rick, how do players deal with that when they hear their name in the press and talking about trade rumors and what may take place?
Some players handle it well, others do not. Colby had a couple of hits yesterday, including a home run, so it didn't seem to bother him.
And a ground ball to short. Terrio takes his time. Over to Albert. Houston strands a runner. Cardinals coming up in their half of the first. Milwaukee all atop the NL Central. The Cardinals with a record of 53-48. Southwest Airlines starting lineup with Terrio, Jay, and Pujols. Then Holliday, Freeze, Molina, Rasmus, Punto, and the pitcher Kyle McClellan.
Happ has been hapless against the Cardinals in 2011. 3 losses. Getting ahead is a problem for him. He's much better when he is ahead in the count. Fastball command also an issue. 57 walks. He's in the top 3 in the National League in that department.
Centerpiece of the deal for Roy Oswalt. Hap coming over from Philly this season against the Stros. Terrio 6 for 20. We started our telecast telling you that this would be a homestand in which the Cardinals really can do some damage. You're playing the 2 bottom teams of the Central. Houston 33 and 68. Chicago 42 and 60.
You still have to get it done, though. You got to play the games. You can't just show up and beat the Astros. They're still a big league team. Astros actually have a decent lineup, and that's what Tony La Russa certainly has been great over his career at teaching his team is, don't take anybody for granted. You have to go out and play a hard 9, and they're not just going to give it to you.
Cardinals last year against sub 500 teams, that was their season. They couldn't beat them. Jam shot to first, and there's one away. Let's meet Houston defensively tonight. Behind Hap, Bourgeois, Bourne, and Pence. In the outfield, Johnson, Varmus, Altuve, and Lee along the infield. Hap and Quintero the battery. Jose Altuve. Not a big guy, obviously. Listed at 5'5", the second baseman of Houston. And John Jay looks at a strike. Tony La Russa saying the other day, Rick, that John Jay primarily will be his center fielder down the stretch.
You love him in the second spot. He always has good at-bats against left-handers, too. Doesn't really give in. He's able to take that slider the other way. Hap's going to try to get him with breaking balls, of course. Bust him in with a fastball. But Jay has shown that he has very solid at-bats against left-handed pitching.
And there's a strike at the knees. Mike DeMuro calling balls and strikes. Corey Blazer at first, Andy Fletcher at second, Jim Reynolds is your crew chief, and he's down at third. The 1-2 pitch hit out of play. Chance over the weekend to see Pittsburgh for the first time since early April. What was your impression of the Pirates?
Not much on the offensive side. Their pitching is decent, particularly their starting pitching. Hanrahan we only saw for an inning. He is certainly a legitimate closer. But the offense, not a lot of pop in that lineup. They have a couple of guys on the disabled list, but I would suspect that they'll fade a little bit. Still happy for Clint Hurdle and the job that he's done there.
He's done a great job. There is no doubt about that. To be this late in the year and tied in the Central Division. Big gap in right center field for John Jay. We don't see teams shade him to the opposite field like the Astros are here.
Yeah, I noticed that too, Dan. Big gap out there. The right fielder Pence basically in normal right field position, but Bourne really shading him the other way. Triple territory out there in right center.
Definitely. Here's a 2-2 pitch to John Jay. Line foul. You think about if you're Cincinnati, you're a game under 500. And yet only 3 games out in the Central Division of the National League.
A lot of question marks with that team now. They've got pitching issues. Dontrell Willis back in the rotation. Cueto and Volquez up and down. Scott Rowland now on the disabled list. Not really sure that they know who they are yet.
Competitive at bat again by Jay. This is what you were talking about, especially hitting in front of Albert Pujols. And Jay out to Bourne, who's positioned perfectly. There's your scouting report, and it comes through.
Well, they learned something, didn't they?
And it brings in Albert Pujols. Pujols is 7 hits shy of 2,000 in his career. Two outs, nobody on. First pitch, a strike on the outside corner. Now a 22 home run, 60 driven in.
This left-hander Hap is 1-5 against the Cardinals lifetime, but that one win was a 2-hit shutout. He was outstanding in that game. And he's a guy that early in his career with the Phillies was a winner. And a little bit different story here with the Astros.
Pujols base it out to left. So 6 away from 2,000 for Pujols.
Pitch up, laced to the left side. Albert's starting to find holes a little more, starting to find the long ball, as what we saw on the road trip. Cardinal fans missed some of those games. He was driving the ball to right field with much more authority than we've seen in the last month or two.
Would that give you an indication then that he's more locked in?
No doubt. He's hit some balls to right field, but you can think of the balls he's popped up to the right side, or maybe lazy fly balls to right field, but he was driving the ball to right center on that road trip.
David Freese on deck, and here is Holiday. Holiday has just been a little bit off last 2 or 3 days. A lot of swings and misses. Seems to be a little late on the fastball. Hot summer months, part of the All-Star game, the home run derby. You see he's 4 for 8 against Happ. So where Tony La Russa usually is able to use some of those interchangeable parts to give guys a break. We understand the heat will be here all the way through Friday. And a swing and a miss. Holiday strikes out. Cardinals strand a runner. Johnson, Barmes, Altuve when we come back. 18th, he's 0-5. Rick, what's been the difference?
Well, nearly 10 weeks ago, the last time he won a game, that was against Jay Happ, by the way, that outing. But Kyle McClellan not as sharp with his command, leaving some balls up in the strike zone. Curveball's a key pitch for him. He can't really stay away from the big inning, too. That's been a problem the last 4 or 5 starts. 3 runs, 4 runs in a particular inning do him in.
Here's Chris Johnson. Looks at a strike underway here in the top of the second. Johnson hits it out of play. 6 home runs and 35 RBIs from their third baseman. That probably isn't going to cut it.
Well, he's moved up in the order. His numbers haven't gotten any better. He was batting 7th and 8th last time we saw him. This team really struggling offensively, Dan. They can hit, but they don't have a lot of power. And pitching and defense really is even worse than that.
And a swing and a miss. First strikeout for Kyle McClellan. Let's take a look at this time lapse. Interesting video here with U2 coming into St. Louis, performing the concert, dug up the field, the stage, and Bill Finley having a heart attack watching this. Bill Finley is the head man here in St. Louis. It takes care of the field.
It's kind of fun.
And Mother Nature not helping out Bill Finley one bit, with temperatures near triple digits night in and night out, day after day.
I understand the concert was spectacular. People that went said it was just an outstanding show, and so that's the good news. But guys like Bill Finley and his crew have to work very, very hard to get us back to where we can have baseball here for this homestand. So really congratulations to those guys for their hard work, and they do it really all year long, but this was a particularly difficult set of circumstances for them.
And they talked about, again, this being a quicker surface tonight, so we'll see how that plays. They try not to put many of the mowers onto the field. They don't want to tear it up at all. And you wonder if that root system has taken place at all since they put it back in. Fly ball into center field. Colby puts it away, 2 outs. Before tonight's game, Fox Sports Midwest and the Cardinals recognized Lake Road Elementary School as the most enthusiastic Doing It Right school this year. So congratulations to Lake Road Elementary School and the Doing It Right program. Al Raboski does a wonderful job with that. Mike Claiborne's a part of it. John Mabry. Jose Altuve. You've really got to get it down in the zone to him. Holiday over, off his glove. Can't make the play. Altuve on his way to second base. 2-out double. Second double by Houston so far tonight.
Major league players come in all shapes and sizes.
That one not very big at second base.
But again, if you're a young guy and you want to be an athlete and you've got some hand-eye coordination, some strength, some speed, you're not going to play basketball. I'm sorry. You're not going to play. You're not going to play linebacker in the NFL, but you might play second base for the Astros.
Good effort by Holiday. Came up just short.
Or soccer.
There you go. Golf. 2 outs. Runner at second. And a strike. Quintero, the 8th place hitter, and the pitcher Happ on deck. Cardinals have defeated J. Happ all 3 times. They have faced him this year. Matchups for this series: Westbrook and Myers tomorrow, and Jake coming off one of his best starts of the year against the Mets. Wednesday night, Carpenter and Bud Norris, and Jaime Garcia, Wandy Rodriguez, pair of lefties on Thursday night. Then we'll welcome the Cubs to town. All 4 games of this series and Friday night on your exclusive home of baseball this summer, Fox Sports Midwest. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2 outs and a runner at second. Breaking ball that's taken up. How do you improve day by day, Rick, that breaking ball, which at times for McClellan is so sharp?
Yeah, it's a field pitch, and you just got to keep spinning it up there and get the right release point. There's so many things that go into it in terms of how it feels in your hand. But, do you grip it hard? Do you grip it loose? Where is it on the seam? The release point out in front of you. To me, when McClellan struggles with the curveball, the release point's not right. He's either releasing it too soon, his body's out in front of his arm, and the ball kind of stays up just a little bit and doesn't have the same sharp break and results in a hanger.
Base hit into center field. And it's 1-0 Houston. 8th place hitter Quintero reaching for it, drives in the first run of the series. It was a 2-out double and now a 2-out single to bring in Altuve.
Now this wasn't a bad curveball from McClellan. Pretty good location. Maybe not the sharpest curveball he's ever thrown, but a good spot. But I would say that when McClellan's curveball is on, Mr. Quintero doesn't hit it.
It's 3 hits, and here is Happ. It drives you crazy at 2 outs and first base open. Can't put away the 8th place hitter with the pitcher on deck, and so here's Happ 0-1. Oh, 2. There's that curveball, a little sharper break, but taken low. 1 ball and 2 strikes, 2 outs and a runner at first. And a strikeout for Kyle McClellan. 2 in the game, 2 in the inning, but a 1-0 lead for Houston. Look at what the starters so far have done against St. Louis for the Houston Astros. Not mentioned there, or pictured there, is Wandy Rodriguez. We'll see him on Thursday.
But Norris, no surprise, 3 starts, ERA under 3. The Cardinals still haven't quite figured him out. But J. Happ, they've had a lot of success, and they're going to have to get going here. Bottom of the 2nd inning. Maybe they can get something started with Mr. Freeze.
Bud Norris starts. They're 2-1. 2.84 ERA is his. 0-5 with the other guys. in that starting five. Cardinals' new ticket pricing system, great deals throughout the season, and our dynamic deal. Terrace level tickets Friday and Sunday, just $32. Cubs and Cardinals weekend tickets now at Cardinals.com. We should tell folks that you may be surprised that you're probably thinking it's sold out, and it's not. So if you're looking to come to Busch Stadium, do it this weekend. Cubs and Cardinals, not sold out. There's David Freese at an opposite field home run over the weekend on Friday night against the Pirates. Now with 4 on the year, 22 RBIs. Molina on deck, and then we'll see Colby Rasmus. Outfield shades him to the opposite field. 2 balls and 1 strike. Last 3 games, David talks about that first at bat being a big one. 5 for 10. Always want to get off to the good start, and obviously David Freese has done that.
Freese is a little bit like Matt Holliday, where he can get into a funk and have some bad swings, maybe over a game or 2. And the key to being successful in the big leagues is don't let that last very long. Matt Holliday's had it for a couple of days. Freese had it for a couple of days. But he had a good game in New York where he didn't get any hits, but he hit the ball hard twice. And I think he's been more on time the last 3 or 4 games since then.
Base hit, David Freese, and it brings in Molina. How about the series that Yachty had in Pittsburgh? A couple of home runs, and he's 6 for 19 against the Stros this year.
At that home run to center he hit.
Also hit one off the foul pole down the left field line. Mentioned those dynamic tickets for this weekend, and also all the games against Houston. There's tickets that are available for just $9. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Instead, a check on the runner at first, David Freese. How about the move by Happ?
Well, that's not the good move there. That's kind of the just, hey, I'm letting you know I'm here move. He works off the third base side of the rubber. I always like to work off the first base side of the rubber because the throw is going to be about 2 feet quicker to get into the bag, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Usually those plays are an inch or 2, it seems like, with a tag.
Yeah, think about it. You're working off the third base side of the rubber instead of the first base side. In fact, you could put your heel on the first base side of the rubber if you want, if you wanted to cheat a little bit more, and get that throw to first base even quicker. So it's basically the length of the rubber is how much slower the throw gets to first base, and a lot of times they are bang-bang plays there.
They say he works from the third base side of the rubber to get in on the righties.
Yeah.
And I guess, Ricky, you'd have to say if you're going to do that and work from the side of the rubber that you feel most comfortable, the number one thing is getting the hitter.
Yeah, that's much more important than keeping a runner close, particularly you're playing the Cardinals. They're not much of a running team anyway.
Yachty reaching for it, hits it down the left field line, fair ball into the corner. Freese on his way to third, and it's second and third, nobody out. Boy, he went down to get that, didn't he?
We usually like to say nice piece of hitting when we're talking to left-handers, where you take the ball the other way, just kind of has that pretty little swing, driving the ball the other way. But Yachty went down to get this pitch. Just really put the bat on the ball. Very simple swing, but found a hole in the corner, and Freese is able to go to third.
And David Freese, safe at third, safe and secure, New York life. Here's Colby Rasmus. Trying to ignore the reports and concentrate on playing baseball.
Yeah, you asked me about that earlier. I think a guy like Colby can be affected by that because he's a pretty sensitive guy and very talented young player, and he's certainly aware that people are talking about him being traded.
I'd be curious to know, if you talk to GMs, what is his value?
I would say it's high because he's got a high ceiling. Because having been a #1 pick, everybody else was slotting him in as a #1 pick because they know he has power, good speed, decent arm in the outfield that we haven't fully seen yet.
And the other thing that becomes a huge part of the equation, money. Right now, in baseball terms, not making a lot of money. 1 ball, 1 strike. And a chopper to second. Tough play, but made, and the run will score. And it's tied up. It's 1-1. The RBI for Colby Rasmus is 38. Also advancing Molina to third base. In the dirt, blocked by Quintero. One game, 1 ball, no strikes. Cardinals half of the second. And Punto looks at his strike on the outside corner.
It's early in the game. The Astros are so used to losing of late. They dropped 3 in a row in Chicago, but they're trying to pinch this run here. They can't afford to give up the lead early on, and you wonder if they're going to give him anything to hit with the pitcher up next.
And Punto hits a fly ball into right, slipping on the play. Pence, thank you, you too. Punto on his way to second. Punto on his way to third. O'Kenda will hold him up. The Cardinals have the lead. We wondered about the footing at the ballpark after the concert. There's your answer.
Look very uncomfortable. We've seen Hunter Pence uncomfortable before in the outfield, but his feet come out from under him, and he really just kind of fell on his own at first, then slips and slides, and boy, that's just not a good play clearly by Hunter Pence. And he's a guy who's an all-star, has made himself into a good player, has more outfield assists in the National League than anybody over the last 5 years, but he just absolutely botched that one.
He talked about a game he had over the weekend, a misplay, did not have very good at-bats, and he took full responsibility for it, Rick. He said, I have played one of the worst games I've ever played in the major leagues. You wonder if that is a factor here tonight in the dirt to Kyle McClellan. How that carries over game by game, and it's so easy and cliche to say, well, you have to put it behind you, but it's human nature to think about it.
And it's also cliche to say what my college coach told me to say is at the end of every day you look in the mirror and you look at that person in the mirror and you say, did I play well today or not? Did I do what I could do to be a better player? And you won't get it, you won't get any lies there if you look in the mirror. But the deal is you do that, but then the next day you have to forget about it. You self-assess correctly, but then you've got to get through it and improve the next day. And I think Hunter Pence is the kind of guy that is not going to let it linger. Otherwise, he wouldn't be an all-star.
There's a strike to McClellan. 1 ball, 1 strike. Infield is in for Houston. 2-1 lead for the Redbirds. Inning start with a single by Freeze. Double to Molina. Ground out by Rasmus, RBI. Triple for Punto.
That might have been an interesting play at the plate. Had Pence stood his ground, made that play. It was fairly shallow in right field. Molina, the runner at third. Pence with all the assists, but not a strong arm. That might have been an interesting play.
I think it's worth you repeating those numbers on the outfield assists. And is that a byproduct of teams not thinking he can throw? So let's challenge him.
That's part of it. 50 outfield assists since 2008. #1 in the National League. And they're going to run on him. And, of course, it's a byproduct of the Astros giving up a fair number of hits.
Put the ball in play as the runner Punto was coming home. And McClellan drives him in. It's 3-1. You wonder if that was supposed to be a squeeze.
Well, it had to be. You're not going to do a hit and run with a guy on third base. You'll get him hurt.
Watch this.
Here comes Punto. Is he going to squeeze? Oh, oops. Good thing he was late on it. All smiles is Kyle McClellan. He just got a little more of that bunt than he wanted to. He bunted it hard to second base is what he did.
And a 3-1 lead for St. Louis. So 2 outs and nobody on. And here's Ryan Theriot. Pitch in the dirt. Rick, I'm sure you played on good teams. Well, I know you did. And I know you played on support teams. And you wonder right now what's going on in that dugout. Some of the minds of the players of Houston, like, here we go again. Jump out to a 1-0 lead. Now we're trailing 3-1.
It's not that much fun. even though you're in the big leagues and you love having the job, but when your team is losing, you start to think about, okay, how many more days left and where are we going to go in the off season, and wonder if I'm going to be on this team next year. I wonder if my manager's still going to be here. You start thinking about all kinds of things, and it's hard to just enjoy it and relax and play your best once you get that negative spiral going, and certainly the Astros are in one right now.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Two and two the count. Set up inside, leave it over the middle of the plate, and spoiled by Terrio. And a fly ball, shallow right. Pence coming on and makes the catch. Misplay in right by Pence, and it costs half. Cardinals on top. Top of the third, and the Cardinals have a 3-1 lead. Along with Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, Jim Hayes with us. Jim, going back to old reliable today as far as interviews are concerned. For a number of years, it was Ryan Franklin. And now I think it's safe to say it's John Mozeliak. Would you agree?
With the trade deadline fast approaching, I thought that was pretty appropriate.
I'm not saying I don't like it. I think it's tremendous.
There he is.
John Bucha on the left. Runs the Cardinal farm system. On the outside corner, and it's a strikeout. We're going to get into that conversation you had in just a moment. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill. They have changed the game. Located at Lumiere Place Casino and Hotels. By Taco Bell, right now offering $20 admission vouchers to Live Nation concerts. And by Verizon, America's largest and most reliable wireless network. Well, I'm assuming, Jim, that you did talk about trades.
Well, we did, Dan, and for the record, I usually get my information by listening to you on the broadcast, but every once in a while we think it's good to talk to the general manager. And he's pretty upfront about the fact that he's not going to discuss a lot of the details of his conversations with other teams, except to say he's talking to everyone right now.
Ground ball to short. Terrio, deep throw, and makes the play.
He had said recently that he felt he could address the Cardinals' needs without touching anyone on the big league roster. Now he says the situation is fluid, meaning he doesn't want to box himself into a corner, and Ricky Horton raised an eyebrow to my right.
Well, that sounds like maybe that is a possibility. I can tell you from my point of view, there's a couple of guys in the minor leagues I'd rather them not touch than some of the guys on the big league roster.
So, Jim, you're essentially saying it was 5 minutes of just filler.
No, it was a joust that John Mozeliak won. It was a fencing match.
I love giving you trouble, Jim.
And I love ignoring it.
I thought you did a very good job on the pre- and post-game shows with Chris Duncan. There's a big swing and miss by Hunter Pence, 0-2.
He was really good, Chris Duncan.
Did a great job.
He's got a good sense of humor. He's got good knowledge. And the fact that he's closer to the game, being as he's not been out of it as long as some of the other relics we have, like Ricky. It's sort of a fresh.
Ouch.
No, I meant
you gonna put up with this?
No, that was praise. I meant you're a seasoned veteran full of wisdom.
Is that what you meant?
It's
wow.
It's just a different perspective that he brought.
Base hit, Hunter Pence into right.
He gives it to me, I give it to you.
I can take it. I'm all right.
2-out base hit, and it brings in Carlos Lee.
No, he did a great job, did Chris Duncan. Fun to work.
And what's so funny about Chris Duncan, and I too have heard so many people talk about his work on radio and now on our pregame shows and postgame shows, that he's really knowledgeable, yes, but he used to not like to do interviews when he played, so it was just kind of a bit of a surprise. But he has a tremendous sense of humor. He's a fun guy, and that's great to see him on this side.
Well, he's really opened up. That's the one thing I've noticed. I told him when I ran into him about a month ago, I said, you look as well rested as I've seen you in years. You know, the pressure of playing and
he had a lot of injuries he was dealing with.
The surgeries and whatnot, but I know he wants to get back in the game, but this is a good way to stay in the game.
And he's pretty upfront. He'll say, look, I was an awful defensive outfielder, but here's my view of this play.
2 balls and no strikes. Lee, 8 home runs, 53 RBIs, grounded out to short back in the first.
Did Jim Hayes call me a relic? I just want to make sure I got that. Where I don't want to have
the record. Yes,
I could go listen to this again and go back and kind of review it.
I think it was worse than that. I think I was calling all our guys relics. What I meant is Chris is a little younger, and
no, we know what you meant.
You know, a shorter time removed from the game is all.
You going to put up with that, Horton?
What am I, Abner Doubleday or something?
Wow. Now you said, Rick, that there's a couple guys in the minor leagues that you would not trade.
Yeah. I mean, Shelby Miller. I mean, Martinez would be another one. And, you know, I know Zach Cox is a name that kind of goes back and forth, and I'm not sure I'd be too much of a hurry to get rid of him either. So I just think there's some guys throwing hard down at lower levels, too, that, you know, don't give up a guy throwing 95 in A ball right now. And, you know, I'm not saying you want to just give him anybody at the big league level, but the prospects have a chance to become higher ceiling guys.
That's the challenge for John Mozeliak. And when you're talking to teams, you do empty interviews with guys on Fox Sports Midwest because you don't want to tip your hand. But I think the Cardinals have to assess how badly do they want to climb through the window of opportunity that they have this season.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. Runner goes. Throw down to second. And got him. It's gunned down at second base by Molina. Lee left standing. And again, we see it time and time, night after night. Strong throw by Molina. John Jay, Albert Pujols, and Matt Holliday. A steamy night here in the Gateway City. That's ball 1. Jay lined out to center first time up. We talked about the positioning of Michael Bourne in center field. We questioned it, but it was perfect. First time up, he lined right to him. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is with us. Jim, we saw the field become a factor already in this game tonight. I know you had a chance to visit with Bill Finley and the crew. Pence slipping. They say it's a faster infield as well.
Yeah, they believe that, and the outfield too, is because it's a little shorter because they had to truck all this grass in. It hasn't taken root yet, and the 100-degree days didn't help the fact that the grass wasn't going to take root. That's deep in the hole.
Oh, what a play. What an outstanding play. It's shortstop by Barmes.
They thought the outfield would be more than playable. They felt there were a couple areas where the grass might kick up a little bit because, again, it has not taken root.
Backhand by Barmes, off-balance throw makes this look easy. They have really upgraded defensively since Barmes has been back. He was on the disabled list. You look at the not-so-close place on our close play at first base on our Fox Mo.
Clint Barmes grew up in Indiana and grew up a Cardinal fan. Played at Indiana State. Pujols reaching for it. Fly ball out to left, and the catch is made. What about the... you look out in center, the batter's eye, and the grass that's there, and it certainly is discolored, and obviously there's been some damage out there.
Well, they trucked in 110,000 square feet of grass to replace the grass that would be taken out. They didn't count on the power cords in the grass by the batter's eye burning the grass out there, so there are some definite marks out there, and they think with time that'll go away. But that's from the power cords that were used in the concert.
Some big power cords.
Apparently hot too, Rick.
I missed the concert. I'm sorry. We were occupied. Did hear it was great, though.
2-0 to Holiday.
You guys were talking about Bill Findlay. He watched some of the concert, but being the head grounds guy, he said he couldn't enjoy it. He was like, after 2 songs, that's plenty. Good night. Go home. Since I'm such a relic, I'll wait till Tommy Dorsey comes into town.
I don't think Rick is going to let you forget that, Jim.
He was my buddy when I went on the trip for the road trip. Something happened.
I told you, Dan gave it to me, and I just shared it. That's all.
It's all good.
3-0 on Holiday. Let's see if they turn him loose. 3-1 St. Louis here in the Cardinals half of the third. Holiday struck out swinging first time up. David Freese on deck.
Late again.
3-2. Lance Berkman not in this lineup, Jim.
A right rotator cuff strain. Says he'll rest today, see how it feels tomorrow. He doesn't think, as that pitch is fouled away, it's anything serious. A couple of days. Mo said it happened to him on his final at bat yesterday in Pittsburgh. You remember he hit the ball to Cedeno, and he said something was weird because Cedeno ran away from it. And he said he didn't feel pain until he got to first base, but there was something there. And he was checked by a doctor today, x-rayed, all that. And it's just a little strain.
So nothing serious.
We're told nothing serious.
The Astros traded him away August 1st of 2010. Since then, 65 and 95 since Berkman has left the Houston Ball Club. 65 and 95. And they only have hit 92 home runs in that time. Obviously, Berkman has hit a bunch with us.
And a bunch against his old team. 5 home runs this season, hitting .462 with 12 ribbies. The Cardinals miss his bat.
Here's a 3-2. Fouled straight back by Holiday.
Houston has 9 home runs in the month of July. Berkman has 7.
You can turn things around. I mean, look at what Tampa Bay did with their bullpen. Gutted it. They have a very good bullpen this season. You've got to be able to draft, which that's something that Pittsburgh has invested a lot of money in. Pittsburgh has invested over $30 million last year in their draft and trying to sign players and more scouts. But you also have to have a little luck along the way. They have new ownership coming in, so you don't know about the future of your manager, your GM. I mean, right now, it's really a mess.
The only way it really works in my mind in baseball is you have to have it as a 3 to 5 year plan. You can't really expect it to happen overnight. You have to include the draft as part of that, but then you can't be in a rush to develop those players and rush them to the big leagues before they're ready.
2 outs and a runner at first. Essentially, Berkman this offseason went back to Houston, said, hey, I want to play for you. They didn't want him. And essentially it's been Brett Wallace, that spot where they said, okay, let's see if Wallace can play at this level. We know we're probably not going to win the division, so let's see what we have with some of the younger players.
And Berkman went out, got himself in great shape, found a new team, and has put together an unbelievably good season.
MVP type year. Freese singled and scored first time up. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs and a runner at first. Game number 102 tonight for the Cardinals. 2-2. We'll do it again. You just joined us. The Cardinals picked up 3 runs in the bottom of the second after Houston scored first on an RBI base hit by Quintero. RBIs for the Cardinals from Rasmus, McClellan, Punto. 3-2. They also said, Rick, that this has been a problem with Happ, is that he will get 2 strikes and then go deep into counts. He can't put hitters away.
Yeah, the fastball command we talked about at the onset, that's part of the problem, and the walks are just way too high. 57 Going into the game, Holiday was his first walk, but maybe another one here.
We'll do it again on 3-2. Another 3-2 pitch. Get out of play. We don't see Freese turn on a lot of baseballs, but we do see him hit for power to the opposite field.
Yeah, he's really protecting now with 2 strikes. He's protecting against the off-speed pitch. He doesn't want to commit early, so he's a little late on the fastball. But I think his natural stroke is to right center anyway.
Pitches we've seen to Freese and Holiday combined. Here's a 3-2. Holiday's getting worn out. Running on every 3-2 pitch with 2 outs. Two pitch, off speed pitch, couple of hops to short. Barmes makes the play. Lee leads it off when we come back. Jim, as always, great job. We'll see you on the post game. 3-time All-Star Carlos Lee leads it off. Signed as a 17-year-old with the Chicago White Sox. Year number 5 with Houston. Turns on the pitch and hits it out of play.
And here's our strike breakout on our 2 starting pitchers. And we're looking at the swings and misses. Balls put into play. Kyle McClellan actually has one of the highest percentages in all of baseball in terms of strikes being put into play.
Three-one pitch to Lee. In the air to center, and Colby puts it away. This Friday we have our Bush Bash, and Jason Mott will be signing autographs in the Ford Plaza prior to the game. That'll be the Cubs in town, and still again seats available Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Cardinals.com/promotions. And again, we have $20 field box seats and $9 terrace level seats for the entire series with the Astros. If you haven't sat in those field box level seats, great time to do it for just $20. Some of the best seats in the house. 2 balls and no strikes to Johnson, who struck out his first time up.
It was not a good breaking ball by Kyle McClellan. That was kind of that in between. It wasn't really a cutter, wasn't really a curveball. It was kind of a slurve. Didn't really have a good arm angle on it. Wasn't sharp.
What's going on with him too, considering trade rumors. If they bring in a starter, what happens to his immediate future? Such a good bullpen guy the Cardinals have had last few years, and now in the starting rotation.
When you talk to Kyle McClellan, I think Dave Duncan would concur. He's still pretty close. He's had some games where he's been close to having a good game, and I would say the New York game was one of those where you take 2 or 3 pitches away and he has a decent outing, but he's just making mistakes at the wrong time. And in that New York game, he said he got caught in between wanting to throw 2 different pitches and made the wrong choice.
3-2 pitch Another fly ball out to right field. Catch made by Jay. Let's take a look at the delivery here of Kyle McClellan.
And he's altered his delivery since being hurt. He's opened up a little bit more with the front side. He works from the first base side of the rubber now, but he throws off that stiff front leg. A lot of torque right there. There's the leg and the pressure that's put on his hip as he turns and throws. There's a lot of torque there, and there's a lot of strain on that left hip as well as on the leg. And no wonder pitchers have leg issues and hip issues along the way, and sometimes they last beyond your years in the game, and you're not exactly, walking around straight after you pitch for 20 years. And McClellan, I think he would say it's worth it right now. Have a big league job,
no doubt. I think anybody that, and it's amazing when you hear from the former NFL players.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
They always will tell you, not always, but I bet 9 out of 10 times, if you ask him, is it worth it? They'd say absolutely.
Yep.
0-2 the count on Clint Barmas. Going back to the New York game too, Rick, if you remember, it was a pop-up that David Freese almost came up with near the camera well, off his glove, and then Carlos Beltran, same at bat, he would have been done. McClellan's out of the inning if the catch is made. Instead, Beltran hits a 2-run homer.
And a double play should have been turned earlier in that inning, which would have made it even a moot point, but Freese misses the pop-up. Tough play, of course, for David, but there was also a foul tip that wasn't held on by the catcher, and that could have also ended the inning.
1-2, another fly ball out to left. Holiday under it, makes the catch. Molina, Rasmus Punto coming up. Cardinals on top.
Conversation about signs with Kyle McClellan, who missed the squeeze play. Jose Oquendo saying no to everything that Kyle McClellan was saying. Basically, I could just picture Kyle saying, well, I thought you did this, and Cheo just going, no.
It looked like everybody else in the dugout when he went in knew the sign.
That's right.
So,
well, you have to be careful in the dugout that you don't give it away.
Exactly.
I mean, you could start to get on the edge of your seat or stand up and think, okay, here it's coming, or say something to the guy next to you, and there may be some watchful eye in that other dugout that notices that difference and asks the pitcher to step off and changes maybe what you're going to do.
How prevalent was it when you were playing that you either had somebody that would watch and try to steal signs, or you felt that stealing signs were a big part of the game?
Hal Lanier was outstanding. He was our third base coach back in the 80s, also managed these Houston Astros. He was a big league player for a long time. Most of his career was with the Giants. But they just have a knack of being able to watch the signs, because it's more than just what you're touching. Are you touching skin, then shirt, then skin? So maybe face and arm, but it's both skin. And it might be with your right hand or your left hand. And there's always an indicator, which usually means it's the sign after the indicator, or maybe two after the indicator. And there's also always a wipe-off. And the wipe-off might be, I'll give you the hit and run, but then I'll hit my hat, which wipes it off, and then I give you something else.
In the air, deep left, has a chance to leave the park. Goodbye! Molina, another home run. His 8th of the season, RBI number 36. He's swinging a hot bat right now, and it's 4-1.
And Molina's hitting the ball down in the zone very well. He doubled in the first inning, almost the same swing, but he gets this more on the sweet part of the bat and hits it into the bullpen.
You're exactly right. That's twice now in this game he's gone down to get those pitches. So a double, home run, 2 runs scored for Yadier Molina. Matches his single season best of 8 home runs. Did that in 2005.
Heard an interesting interview recently by Oral Hershiser, who said that for a 5 or 6 year period in the major leagues, they weren't calling the high strike. It turned all big leaguers into low ball hitters, and they started to handle that pitch a lot better, which made it tough on pitchers. More guys were being trained to hit that ball down in the zone. Cardinals have had a good number of low ball hitters over the years. Ryan Ludwig, very good at hitting the ball down in the zone, and Molina's another one.
Here's a 3-0 pitch to Colby. Swinging away on 3-0. Go back to the signs for a moment, Rick. How often did a manager change signs? Was it series to series, game to game?
You might have it for months on end, but when there was a trade, you'd have to change them.
Absolutely.
Because you wouldn't want the guy on the other team to know. And sometimes they'd be series to series if you were concerned about a particular team being good at stealing those signs.
Was there a team that was good when you were playing, stealing them?
Not that I can recall. I know that we had so many battles with the Cubs and the Mets, and we were just so tuned into those kinds of things, like the signs. And I know that the Atlanta Braves were pretty good at that, because I can recall a couple of times Ken Oberkfell being the third baseman, and Chuck Tanner was there, and they were pretty good at expecting the squeeze. And they weren't a very good ball club at the time, but they were well coached on that department of stealing signs. And it's really an art, because I can look at it and I don't know what I'm seeing. And Hal Lanier could look at it and he'd say, squeeze. And I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
2 balls and no strikes on Punto. See, this is where I hit my double, and then up here was where the home run was hit. It's got to be a good feeling. 3-0.
Yeah, and Albert say hit 400 and then come talk to me.
Good point.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Been there, done that.
.30 pitch to Punto, right down central. 3-1. Outfield is shallow for Nick Punto, and it's 3-2. Punto with a triple back in the second inning, and really one of the plays of the game thus far as Hunter Pence came in, should have made the catch. He slipped, got over his head, went to the wall. Punto wound up with a triple and an RBI.
As I can recall, I don't think I ever remember a time knowing our signs. Now that you mention that, McClellan down there
reliever, though, I mean, how much do you really need to know?
But even as a starter, what I remember most is standing in the on-deck circle and Whitey yelling to me, "Hey, bunt until you're out." And that was it. I got the verbal sign. I'd look down there. He wasn't going to let me swing, that's for sure. Too much detail maybe would have clouded my mind a little bit, Dan. Enough other things to worry about.
Trying to get people out.
It was hard enough.
There's McClellan showing bunt. Grounded out to second. Picked up an RBI his first time up. Third baseman is way in.
Now that's ridiculous.
He is way in.
McClellan can bunt the ball past him very easily.
That's how you get hurt, too.
And he kept coming in and in and in and in, and here comes the pitch, and he's taking 5 more steps. Look at that. He's almost on the dirt. Not much range right there. Bunted hard to third.
Coming again, and the bunt fouled back, and it's 0-2. That is the furthest we've seen a third baseman come in all year.
Being the relic that I am, I've never seen a third baseman that close on a bunt.
You're not going to let Hayes forget that, are you?
Probably not.
Fouled back by McClellan, nor should he. Be a little rough on you.
That's his way of showing love.
Uh-huh. You sure about that?
No.
In the dirt, thrown down to first and back in safely. Punto is calling time, and he may be hurt.
Very close play, and that Tag went right on the fingertips of Punto. There's the better move for J-Happ.
McClellan again showing bunt. Johnson step or two in on the grass. To throw over twofold, Rick, just to see if McClellan shows bunt, also to keep Punto tight at first.
Yeah, that's another issue, is short lead, but will he bunt again? I think he will.
Showing bunt, and he gets it down this time. Only plays to go to first base. Lead covering, advancing on the sacrifice, Nick Punto.
Set the right angle. Let the bat hit the ball. Just deaden it. Don't do too much with it. And get some high fives in the dugout. Game simple.
Ryan Theriot with the runner at second base. Theriot hits it out of play.
It's simple until you try to bunt a ball that's coming 90 miles an hour from 60 feet away.
Yeah. Oh, 0-2 the count on Theriot. Fought off, and it's a foul ball. Theriot grounded out to first, also flied out to right. Foul back. By inning, already 93 pitches for Happ. 93. And we've got 2 outs here in the Cardinals' half of the fourth.
It's a day's work. More than that when it's 90 degrees. J-Happ has been much better this year when he has been ahead in the count. Conan's batting just 166. But look at the behind in the count, 449. Huge difference.
Chopper up the middle. Tough play, and it's made. Theriot is 0 for 3.
Altuve just got recalled from Corpus Christi, where he's playing for former Cardinal second baseman Tom Lawless, the manager there. And I would say he's done a nice job of grooming him to be a good fielder at the big league level. He had a hit his first time. And, you know, Tom was not exactly the 6'5", 250-pound player either, so he's probably helped him understand how you can play at the big league level and contribute. What'd you say it was? 5'5"?
5'5" listed. Tom Lawless is one of the most famous postseason home runs in Cardinals history. That's over the head of David Freese. He was playing in. Holiday over to get it. Altuve slipping at first, and hopefully he didn't hurt himself.
He just hits down on this ball. the dirt hard enough to get it to bounce over the head of David Freese. And he takes a bit of a header. And it's the grass again.
Here is Quintero.
Tom Lawless, one of my favorites, by the way. And a great manager for young players. You know, a lot like Bob Forsch, another former Cardinal who is coaching at the minor league level. He's with the Cincinnati Reds. Guys that just know how to play the game the right way. Tommy's been coaching since he got out of baseball and been with a number of organizations. And he's part of trying to rebuild this Astro organization. He says that they've got some very talented pitchers, particularly at AA level.
Oh, and 2. Pitch count for Kyle near 70. And a strikeout. He tied him up. 4th strikeout tonight for Kyle McClellan.
We talked about this earlier, the number of swings that resulted in the ball being put in play since 1996. Only Mike Morgan, a higher percentage than Kyle McClellan. That's balls that actually make contact where the ball gets in play, as opposed to a swing and a miss. You're going to get, hopefully, outs with a lot of those. Mike Morgan was a former Dodger. Actually, he played with I think he played with 16 big league teams, if I remember it correctly.
Throw to first, Altuve back in. Was it that many?
He played with, I know he played with the Cubs and the Dodgers and the Mariners and the Cardinals for a short time.
96,
Came up with Oakland. I played with him in Los Angeles, and he had a lot of different color sleeves in his arsenal.
12 teams.
Well, not 16, but it was 12. That's still a lot.
I mean, somebody still thinks you can get people out.
Yeah. He was one of those high ceiling guys, came out of the high school draft, went right to the big leagues, like Tim Conroy, another Cardinal player eventually, where Oakland just said, we'll put this kid in the big leagues at 18 and see what happens. And I'm not sure they did him a very good service by doing that.
1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Happ hitting for himself, even though that pitch count is near 100. Trying to get some innings from him. Sacrifice is good. Sack 1-3 on the play. And it brings in Michael Bourne. Michael Bourne tonight, flied out to left and also struck out back in the 3rd. Another fine play by Molina. And time is called by Bourne. Rick, you were talking earlier how you come to the ballpark. It's not a lot of fun. Just over 30 wins this year for Houston, but you have to find some type of motivation for yourself, which is not an easy thing to do, but you have to do it.
Well, you find the motivation, but you don't want that to become so selfish that it becomes a thing that pulls the team apart. That's the manager's job, to keep guys still thinking about a team concept, even though the team is 20 games out of first place. You know, the team is still the team, and it's still, you know, you've still got to make a commitment to one another at some level.
Liner and caught by Terrio. Jay, Pujols, Holiday coming up. 4-1. Redbirds on top. Here's John Jay, who was lined to center and also grounded out to short. Rick has sources everywhere. There's a base hit, including the wives of managers that are in the minor leagues. As Bourne throws it back into second base, and it looked like he slipped as well out there.
He did. I hope he's okay. He's actually still on the ground. He went to plant, and he threw very awkwardly. Now talking it over with the right fielder, Pence. That's 3 times now we've seen Astros slip and fall.
So you have a story about the second baseman.
I do. And here's the slip. Trying to plant. That kind of looked like it was him, though. I'm not really sure that had anything to do with the ground.
First pitch to Pujols.
Altuve, the second baseman, was told by Tommy Lawless, and I have this on good authority, as you mentioned, that he was going to the big leagues, and he didn't believe him. He was 100% sure he was just trying to pull a joke on him, and it took a long time to convince him that, no, you are actually going to the big leagues. Young Venezuelan second baseman.
And you got that from?
I got that from the highest authority in the Lawless household, Tom's wife, Cheryl. Good friend of mine for a very, very long time.
There's the 0-1 pitch to Albert. I know you're very close with Tom Wallace. Is managing in the big leagues something that he wants to do? Is that why he's still doing this?
Yeah, and he'd do a great job at it. He's managed at many different levels. He's coached, and even to be a coach in the big leagues, I think, he's been doing this long enough. I think that's the next level for him to be a big league coach somewhere, and just hope he gets that opportunity. And I had the honor of officiating at their daughter's wedding this offseason.
One-two pitch. Fouled back again by Pujols. Another big rip. 100 pitches for Happ.
You better be careful with pitch number 101 after that swing.
One-two pitch. Up and into Pujols and thrown down to first and back in. No, they're going to say he's out. And here comes Tony La Russa. Well, the left hand is not in there. You wonder if the right was, and looked like it did not get in there. So Lee may have blocked it with his foot. The 2-2 is popped up,
which, by the way, is legal.
Farmas makes the catch, 2 outs. And we turn to our trivia question tonight. Here in the bottom of the 5th. Brought to you by AT&T. When was the last time the Astros were at least 35 games below 500 in a season? 1975. Here's Holiday. He struck out and he has walked. Pair of right-handers, Carpenter and Rodriguez, getting loose in the bullpen for Houston.
You'd have to be a really big baseball fan to have gotten that trivia question right. Think about it. You'd have to be sitting around with numbers coming out of your head to say, you know what, that reminds me of the 1975 Houston Astros, who I believe were 35 games under 500. Come on. You got to be kidding me.
And you've also had years of which you have no idea what happened in baseball from what year? From 19...
That was like 1992 to 95. I was in Baseball Morning.
Yes. So anything that happened then, you have no idea.
Not sure there was a series, or there wasn't one actually.
So you didn't watch any games?
I tried to watch a game, came to the ballpark, watched Greg Matthews pitch to Milt Thompson, didn't like it, went home.
That's enough to make you want to not go to a game too.
I'm thinking, here's my former teammate pitching to another former teammate. I should still be doing this for a living. I'm going home.
Base hit brings in David Freese. Clint Barmas not able to come up with this. But that's the team from the mid-'70s for Houston. How about the current Seattle Mariners?
Oh.
They're trying to snap a 15-game slide. 15 in a row. Facing Freddie Garcia tonight. They had a 2-hour rain delay in the Bronx.
Ichiro just hasn't gotten on track.
No. Brendan Ryan hit a grand slam, I believe it was yesterday, but not enough. He's had a decent year with Seattle. Cardinals picked up Michael Clayto in return in that deal. We've seen him appear a couple of times here at the big league level. Padres beat the Phillies 5-4. That's the lone final. Baseball avoided a sweep. Brad Lidge has returned for the Phillies.
Another late swing for David Freese, trying to hit the ball in that right center field gap. Singled, scored in the second inning. Cardinals scored 3 runs in that inning. The Astros, well, they're just struggling. Got to believe this is Happ's last inning, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. And they've got, as I mentioned before, activity in their bullpen. Arizona agreed today with their first-round pick, Trevor Bauer, 3rd overall pick out of UCLA, hard thrower. Walk to Freese. That may be it right here.
Coverage begins at 6:30. And it's been all Cardinals so far tonight. David Carpenter, the right-hander, will take over for Jay Happ. He just did not have very good command. The Cardinals were very patient with him. 4 runs on 7 hits, and he is responsible for the 2 runners on board.
Two outs and runners at first and second. Yadier Molina with a double and a home run. He could bust this game wide open.
I understand we have a number of Carpenters at the ballpark tonight.
Chris Carpenter.
And not only that Chris Carpenter, the other Chris Carpenter that used to pitch for the Cardinals is also here. He's a world history teacher in Gainesville, and he is here at the ballpark. Gainesville, Georgia, not Gainesville, Florida. That's a lot of Carpenters.
It's a lot. 2 balls and no strikes. Molina off the end of the bat. In the left, that's a base hit. And it gets by Bourgeois. 1 run is in. Here comes another. Yachty winds up at second. Descalso scores. The Cardinals have picked up 2 with 2 outs here in the 5th, and they lead it 6-1. Yadier Molina a triple away from the cycle.
Pitching has been a problem for the Astros, but so has defense. That was just a horrible attempt to catch a baseball. I'm not sure what he's thinking. He had his glove facing the wrong way. Actually looked like he was expecting a higher hop, but he was totally not prepared to catch that ball. That was just very poor defensive positioning, and he's not going to throw anybody out at home on that anyway, but still.
Runner at second base for Colby Rasmus. RBI ground out was in the second inning. Molina, the runner at second base. Also saw the misplay that doesn't show up as an error in right on Hunter Pence, but he slipped on a ball that should have been caught. May have been able to turn that into a double play with a play at the plate. Instead got over his head as he slipped. Went to the wall, turned out to be an RBI triple. 1 ball, then 2 strikes.
This right-hander Carpenter had the loss in the final game against the Chicago Cubs, appearing in his 8th game. And he's been pretty decent at the big league level, but he was electric at AAA.
Situation with Houston, you want to see these young players, but if they don't have success at this level, you don't want them to lose confidence and get buried. Very much a fine line.
It isn't just confidence. You wonder, do you want to bring a guy to the big leagues and show him that this is what the big league life is? And the losing life is certainly different than being on a contending ball club. So the experience they're getting is this is what the big leagues is. Well, you know, it isn't what winning in the big leagues is like. You don't want to get bad habits. Low expectations.
1-2 pitch. 2-2. In the air, deep right. Goodbye. Long home run for Colby. 2-run homer. Number 11 for Colby Rasmus. Third RBI of the night for Colby. Second consecutive day with a home run.
Maybe there should be a story about him being traded every night. Let's see, who else can we trade him to tomorrow?
Ground ball by Punto. Lead to Carpenter. Big inning for St. Louis. Cardinals with 9 hits on the night. 8 runs. It's 8-1. 1,862. July 25th, 1962. And our Schnooks, this date in baseball history. Big night for the Cardinals. Rasmus with 3 RBIs, and they lead it by the score of 8-1. Descalso takes over at third base after pinch running for David Freese. Jason Bourgeois. Pete Mata, master control, making sure that this game goes to all the fans around the country. Working hard again tonight. We appreciate everything he does for us. That's Pete Mata. Hunter Pence will be the hitter. Single, then was caught stealing back in the third, and is also grounded out to second.
Talked about the importance of McClellan handling Michael Bourne at the top of the lineup with his speed, keeping him off the bases. Pence has speed of his own. One hit between the two of them, and Pence was caught stealing by Yadier Molina in that third inning.
Pitch is popped up, playable. Descalso, 2 away. 7-run lead, and it looks like McClellan is comfortable right now out there.
Really nice to have him out there with a big lead, Dan. You know, with all the stress that he's dealt with in his last few starts, he hasn't won since May 19th. We talked about that. He beat Jay Happ in that game, and at the time he was 6-1, and now he's 6-6, and that's been close to 10 weeks ago.
One ball, one strike.
Some of the time was spent on the disabled list when he had his hip issue, but still, that's a lot of negativity back-to-back starts, and it's nice to have him have a good one going.
High fly to left. Holiday with room makes the catch. 1-2-3 inning for Kyle McClellan. 7 pitches, and the Redbirds lead it by the score of 8-1.
That sure looks like a cool place to be in the Midwest. New pitcher is Anuri Rodriguez, the third Astros hurler of the night. Jay Happ, the starter. David Carpenter gave up a home run to Colby Rasmus in the 4-run Cardinal 5th inning, and now Rodriguez takes over for Brad Mills here in the home half of the 6th inning. And their first batter will be Kyle McClellan.
Well, you wonder, if you're Tony La Russa, just how far you go with Kyle here tonight. Pitch count has been pretty efficient. Last inning certainly helped, and he's had 83 pitches this evening. Broken bat, couple of hops to second, and there's one away. Build-A-Bear Workshop Day, and that's coming up Sunday, August 14th. 12,000 fans ages 15 and under receive a bear honoring Stan the Man with a paid admission. For tickets, visit Cardinals.com, and that series all weekend long has discounted seats. Kids can run the bases after the game. Terrace level seat gets you a free hot dog and soda.
I'd like to see McClellan go just one more inning. I think he's had enough negatives at work, and there's a lot of talk about him going from the bullpen to the starting rotation. Maybe you need to limit his innings. I actually talked with Kyle about that, and he and I both agreed in talking about it. Being a reliever is much more stressful on your arm than being a starter, because you're throwing maybe 4 days a week instead of once a week. And I don't want to say much more, but it's a different kind of stress. A starting pitcher's arm feels good almost every game. A reliever's arm feels good about half the time.
Which then leads me into this question. What if he does have to transition from being a starter to a reliever, and you want to use him back-to-back nights or whatever the case may be? How long would it take for that to happen?
I think he has enough history with that, and he's a smart enough guy that he would figure it out and it wouldn't be a problem. Now, you'd have to be careful what kind of guy you do that with, but I think Kyle McClellan is, he's a loyal team guy, and he'll do what he needs to do. He may like it, he may not, but he'll do it. And, who knows what's going to happen over the next week with the trading deadline that might force some lineup changes with the Cardinals. Maybe not. But it's certainly a possibility.
Fly ball out to left. Bourgeois is back and makes the catch off the bat of Theriot. Theriot is 0 for 4. Tomorrow night, Jimmy the Cat Hayes, and it's the cat fight. Stop by the Helitech desk at Busch Stadium. Be a part of the show. It's the cat fight, which is must-see TV. John Jay picked off after singling back in the 5th. Lined out to center and also grounded out to short. Big gap in right center. 0-2 the count. Jay Happ goes 4 2/3 tonight. 7 hits, 6 runs, 3 walks, a strikeout. Gave up a home run and a sacrifice. 112 pitches. Think about guys pitching with confidence, and we've seen him look much better than he did tonight.
The walk off the mound from Jay Happ. I don't know if you happened to see that. I followed him all the way in from the mound to the dugout, and he walked like he was, I mean, like he had no friends and he had nowhere to go. He could not have walked slower. It was like Lee Smith coming into a game. He was walking so slow. And I just felt sorry for the guy. I felt like he was just lost as he was exiting the game. I can't believe what happened.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, with a team right now that is losing, and every 5th day you're going out there and you're wondering, do I have to be perfect every night? Offense isn't scoring a lot of runs. And again, you talk about bearing, a young player or pitcher. Jay hits a fly ball down the left field line. Bourgeois is over, missed it. Foul ball. Get about 1 step and then you hit that wall.
Almost a fair ball. And what a change for Happ from his years with the Philadelphia Phillies. Obviously a different atmosphere in the Phillies clubhouse than the Astros have. He was 12-4 in 2009.
Right.
ERA at 2.93. He doesn't remember that guy right now.
2-2. Chopper to second. Cal McClellan back to work when we come back for the 7th inning. Cardinals on top. It's 8-1. Third baseman Chris Johnson leads it off. Fastball that's pulled foul. Johnson has struck out tonight and also flied out to right. Shaking his head up there at the plate. Johnson, Barmes, Altuve. McClellan has allowed 5 base hits. Redbirds have scored 3 in the 2nd, 1 in the 4th, another 4 in the 5th. Pulled foul again, 1 and 2. No activity right now in either bullpen. Cardinals knocked out the starter Jay Happ after 4 2/3. Swing and a miss. Strikeout number 5 for Cal McClellan. Cal getting him to chase after he missed a couple of fastballs that were right down the middle.
And he's looked bad twice. That one the cutter, the other time the breaking ball off the plate.
One-0 pitch.
Here's the cutter grip for McClellan. Fingers close together, and he just gets kind of the short break, not over the top so much, but more just coming on the side of the ball. Breaks away from the right-handed batter, and again, not a very good swing by Johnson. Perfect location for McClellan.
3-0 on Clint Barmes.
We'll see if I can get Cheryl Lawless to text me on how we get. I'll get some.
He's on deck and he's doubled.
Get the scouting report down there as quickly as possible.
Single. Ground ball to short. 2 away. Jose Altuve. Ripped out to left and over the head of Matt Holliday. Better hurry up with that scouting report. Altuve is in with a double. That really should be his third. Remember, he slipped going around the bag at first.
Right. It's an A ball last year, so he has a little pop in his bat. Young second baseman from Venezuela. He kind of reminded me a little bit of the Astros catchers that had that great day against us. Mr.
Tolles.
He's safely rounded first, by the way, Altuve. Tolles had a career night against us. He really hasn't been the same since then, though.
Remember, at that time, they thought he was the heir apparent to Brad Ausmus, who was tremendous for many years with Houston. Strike on the outside corner to Quintero. Trevor Miller getting loose in the bullpen. And a broken bat hit to the right side. McClellan is there covering first base, and it's time to stretch. Redbirds on top. It's 8-1.
Good friend Joe Strauss passing along that information. The Mets beat Cincinnati 4-2.
Pujols with a base hit tonight, a single out to left. He's flied to left and also popped out to short. First pitch to Albert. Looks like Izzy will get to number 300 as long as he's not dealt. The way he's pitching, you got to think that there's some teams that are taking a hard look at him as Lee is over and the catch is made by Quintero. Would you agree?
And I would guess that he would rather be on a winning team with a chance to be in the playoffs than get 300 saves, but just outstanding that he's got people wanting him.
I disagree.
You'd rather him lose? You think he would rather lose?
I think he'd like to be the closer. I really do.
Yeah,
and get to 300. 300 has been so important for him.
But if he had a chance to go to a contender and play in the playoffs in a meaningful game, I would hope that's what he would rather have. Let's put it that way.
Me too. A lot of swings and misses, Rick, from Holliday. Noted that earlier. He has been on base twice with a single and a walk.
And he's been late on a lot of those swings and misses. Timing just off a bit.
1-1 pitch. When we were in New York, and all the talk at that time was about Reyes and Beltran, but overlooked was Isringhausen, who now is their closer. And the way that he's pitching now, the velocity has improved a little bit since the beginning of the year. And at one point, you might remember, he struck out Pujols, Holliday, and Berkman all in a row.
He sure did. All with fastballs up in the zone.
Yeah. I don't think it would happen. I know there's some fans that have asked us about Izzy and Cardinals' interest in Isringhausen. I think everything that he went through, I just don't see that being a fit. You know, if he goes out there and has a bad outing,
oh boy,
you know what the fan base would be like.
Well, the fan base certainly was not in his corner when he left.
No. 3-2 pitch. Holliday strikes out. First plate appearance of the night for Descalso. Well, maybe we can see if he gets to 300 before the deadline. Then you don't have to worry about it. Then he can go Series somewhere.
Best of both worlds.
There you go. Descalso pops it up into shallow left. Bourgeois is coming in and makes the catch. We head to the 8th, and it's 8-1. Some changes now for St. Louis. P.J. Walters takes over on the mound. His 4th appearance, and so far so good, Rick.
Well, he has an opportunity to get some innings. He's entering a bullpen that really has struggled over the last month, and he's not a guy that's an overpowering pitcher, but he's done a nice job so far. Schumacher takes over and left. P.J. not an overpowering pitcher. Changeup really his best pitch. Throws a sinking fastball, really right around 89, 90 miles an hour is all you're going to get from P.J. Walters.
Here's Brett Wallace, who's seen his playing time cut back. Only 4 home runs on the year. 26 RBIs. He's hit .279. And if you're Houston, a question you have to ask yourself, can you live with a corner infielder with only 4 home runs? The answer is probably not.
Depends on what you mean by living. If living is being 20 games out of first place and having a team on the field and doing the best you can, or is living getting back on top of the division?
1-2.
I think it'll be a while before the Astros go back to living on top of the division again.
Slap the other way and foul.
There's too many holes to fill.
And they talked about cleaning it up, and I mean everybody. I mean, when you've got Pence and Bourne, Wandy Rodriguez could be had apparently. Talking about cleaning house.
Best 5-year plan, guys, I ever saw were John Hart and Dan O'Dowd with the Cleveland Indians. They laid it out. I was coaching with them in the minor leagues. They laid out in 4 years, next 4 years, we're going to be terrible. And in the 5th year, we're going to be great. And here's how we're going to do it. And it took them that long to develop Manny Ramirez and Jim Thome and Chad O.J., the pitcher, many young players with talent. That by the time they got to the big leagues, they were ready to win. Then they went out and got the other pieces via free agency and trades to make these young guys kind of a full team. It wasn't the other way around. It wasn't filling the young guy. And that's really what you've got to do. You have to be patient enough for all your young players to get to that level, then start spending money to fill in the blanks.
How many owners or organizations, though, are that patient? Not many.
No.
But if you've lost like they had lost, you finally say, look, this is what we've got to do.
Not too many general managers with a 5-year deal either.
Right. And a new ballpark coming to the Indians.
That was part of the deal. Part of the plan.
The other way, and Schumacher on the run takes the hit away from Brett Wallace. Nice play. This is where Skip gives you a little flexibility. Second baseman can play all 3 outfield spots.
Really not an easy play here. He's got to go on the line. He's got to take the perfect angle and hold on to it.
Skip really is a good athlete. To be able to do what he's done at this level, very, very impressive. McClellan, his line, 7 innings, 1 run, 6 hits. No walks. He struck out 5, 1 sacrifice. 96 pitches for Kyle McClellan. 1-1 the count.
Really something he can build on this outing. That's one of the reasons I was hoping he'd get out. And I was thinking maybe after 6, but certainly after 7. Get the bullpen some work, but give Kyle just a lot of positives leaving this game, and maybe he can get back on a roll again.
Crowd tonight over 38,000. 38074. There's a base hit into right center. Michael Bourne with a 1-out single. Well, Houston trailing in this game 8-1. And some mistakes, Rick, by the outfield.
Yeah, this was mistake number 1, Hunter Pence. Well, I'm not sure what happened. He started to try to catch that ball like he was standing on ice. His feet just came out from under him. And then the center fielder, Michael Bourne, tried to get rid of the ball from center field. He slipped and fell. In this play, I'm not sure what happens with Bourgeois, as he doesn't even have his glove down ready to catch that ball. I can't blame that one on the field. That's just really improper technique by the left fielder. But kind of a lot of action going on in the Astros defense. They are next to last defensively in the National League.
Here's Bourgeois. No balls and a strike with 1 out and a runner at first. Little floater into right, base hit. PJ's not fooling anybody right now. 2 of the 3 have made it onto the base paths, and the first one line out. There was a fine play by Schumacher. Here's Hunter Pence. Pence takes a strike.
Breaking ball from Walters is not a real sharp breaking ball. It's just kind of a little bender. That one right there hung on the inside part of the plate. Hunter Pence is not a good breaking ball hitter, but he can hit a bad breaking ball.
0-1 pitch. 0-2. Tight game between Texas and Minnesota tonight. 18-1 in favor of the Rangers in the bottom of the 6th.
18-1. Twins are going to be in it before it's over.
You think so?
Mark my words.
In the game or in the race?
No, not in,
okay.
No, this game is.
We had to clarify.
No. This game's long gone. I'm sure there's an infielder pitching right now in that game.
At that point, I would have said,
no.
You are out of your mind. But that's not the case.
At least not for that reason.
Minnesota 7 games out. Detroit leads their division by 2 over Cleveland. Chicago 4.5 games out. Minnesota 7. We have Kansas City at 42 and 59, and they are 12 games out. Boston leading New York in their division by 3 games. Texas over LA by 3 games.
Tampa Bay is really failing, aren't they, in the East?
Now 9.5 games out. Remember when we were in Tampa Bay and we talked about their second half schedule and all the games that they have left with the Yankees and Boston?
40% of their games
right
at that time against those 2 clubs. Cardinals, in contrast, have a nice schedule going forward. The next dozen or so series are against teams playing below 500 baseball or teams within the division for the Cardinals. They really a chance to pick up some ground. I still think it got a shot at being a 3. I'm not sure about 4, but certainly a 3-team race for a long time. Still not particularly sold on the Pirates, even though they're tied right now. I think the Reds are a better team.
They miss Scott Rowland right now. He's out on the DL with a sore shoulder. They have their issues.
But if their pitching gets hot, their pitching will be better than Pittsburgh's. And they'll have some offense to go along with it.
3-2 pitch, and it's a walk. So bases loaded. PJ right now a little bit of trouble. Boggs is getting loose in the Cardinal bullpen. Carlos Lee due up with the bases loaded. One swing of the bat could be 8-5. Carlos Lee with the bases loaded. Amazingly, only up 5 times the bases loaded this year.
How about the numbers, though, in his career? 15 grand slams. Do we have to show that?
Pitch is popped up behind home plate. That'll find the seats.
When you think of grand slam home runs, who do you think of? What name comes to your mind?
Pujols.
I think Lou Gehrig.
That would be on my list too.
Willie McCovey. Chris Carpenter has one.
That was in Cincinnati.
Yes, it was.
Why I can remember useless things like that?
I think Joaquin Andujar hit one.
I believe he did.
And I also think Mark Bailey.
Did he?
Off of me.
Oh, so you better remember it.
I remember that one really well. That was in Houston.
What made you give up?
I think just that one. I think.
Cardinals want to see a double play here. 1-2 on Lee. 8-1 here in the 8th.
Much better thing to talk about. Double play.
Or strikeout, but now it's 2-2.
Talked about being a good low ball hitter. Lee is a very good low ball hitter.
Out of play.
Which presents a problem for P.J. Walters because that's where he's trying to go, is down.
Time called again. 2-2 the count. Two pitch to Carlos Lee. Jammed him, popped up. Molina giving chase, out of play.
I think what we're seeing right now is that P.J. Walters really does not have the put away pitch for Carlos Lee. He was ahead of him in the count 1-2. And that pitch, that strikeout pitch, that kind of blow you away pitch that you need in this situation with the bases loaded, that's not really his style. He has had games in the minor leagues where he's had high numbers of strikeouts. I think that's on mostly breaking balls and guys kind of free swinging, but Carlos Lee is very difficult to strike out. In fact, he is in the top 10.
Time had been called and granted to Carlos Lee.
Timeout was called and Walters didn't see it. Mentioned tough to strike out. Albert Pujols, Ryan Theriot, Yadier Molina, very good in that regard. Carlos Lee 10th in the National League. So you want him to put the ball in play to your shortstop.
Here's a 2-2. Lee hammers it down the left field line. This is trouble at the track. It's at the wall. It's a grand slam. We've got a ball game. 8-5. Lee is 2 for 2 off of Walters, and both have been this home runs. And it's now 8-5, and PJ was not effective.
And the game has gotten uncomfortably close here in the 8th inning. 8-5 Cardinals. Mentioned 9-9 in hits now. Mitchell Boggs is going to have to kind of stop the bleeding here. Have Chris Johnson, who has not looked very good at the plate. Expect to see him get his sliders until he proves he can hit it.
Let's see if he chases a bunch now. Just about to say that. That's how McClellan was able to strike him out a couple of times tonight. One out, nobody on. Johnson takes a ball low. Cardinals will have Molina, Rasmus, and Punto due up. Yadier a triple away from the cycle. 1-1.
Slider chase right here. Nope.
Goes with it. This could be trouble. Slicing, fair ball. Jay gets it back in.
Maybe it should have been slider chase.
Man on deck represents potentially the tying run in this game. There's Clint Barmas, who's grounded out, flied out, and lined out.
Time for something good to happen.
One out runner at first. Two and 0. Ball game that was 8-1, now 8-5. 2 balls and no strikes.
When Mitchell Boggs comes in from the bullpen and doesn't have his pinpoint control, he usually doesn't find it. Now, if he's got it, he comes in throwing strikes. I would think he would be a pretty easy pitcher to read for Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa as to whether or not he's got his command or not. And I think that's why Tony's going to the phone already.
Ground ball, could be 2. Terrio gets the lead man. Nice play.
Could be 2. It was almost none.
It was almost 2 on and a tying run at the plate.
It's a nice play by Terrio. Got to spin and get the lead runner.
Altuve, big night, 3 hits, pair of doubles. Right now he's saying this is easy. He's hitting .438.
Is there a better league than this? What's the higher league called? Listed at 5.7 in the media guide. I'm not buying it.
Foul back, 0-2. Here's the 0-2. Reaching for it. Into center. Diving catch. Big center field. Colby Rasmus. Outstanding catch from the Cardinals center fielder. Rasmus well over 400 feet into the seats and right. Our Nissan drives of the game.
And we knew it would be a matter of time here at Busch Stadium, Dan. Remember the first month of the season when the ball just wasn't carrying here well at all. A little cooler, and we thought, boy, guys just aren't showing the home run potential here. In fact, Albert had a lot of balls that he hit to the track early on, but ball carrying now, it's heated up a bit, and the Cardinal power has come back. Mark Melanson, the closer for the Astros, hasn't had a chance to close very many games.
47th appearance, 2.91 ERA. Last time we saw Houston, he was more of a 6th or 7th inning man.
They only have 12 saves as a team. And to give that some perspective, the Cardinals, who have not really had a very solid bullpen all year, have 28 saves.
Sanchez is your new shortstop. 8-5 in favor of St. Louis. Yadier Molina, big night. Double, run scored in the second, home run in the 4th inning. In the 5th inning, he singled, and if he picks up that 4th career triple, of all people, Yadier Molina will have hit for the cycle.
He had a single and a double and a homer in the game on Friday night in Pittsburgh.
First pitch to Yadi. Play Molina straight up. Outfield is deep. Oh, 0-2. Melanson was part of the Lance Berkman deal a year ago with the Yankees. One-two pitch on the inside corner to strike out of Molina. That's how we start the bottom of the 8th.
You can't call a guy out on this pitch when he's trying to get a cycle, can you?
He just did. Three RBIs tonight. Diving catch in center. Home run for Colby. And he pulls it down the right field line. Foul. 0-2. His home run earlier, one of the longest we've seen at the ballpark this year.
Home run, diving play in center field. Maybe he's trying to make a statement. Home run yesterday, a couple of runs scored.
On 1-2. So what you're saying, Rick, he's showing you a little bit of everything and why, even if you did deal Colby Rasmus, it's one of those where you wince a little bit, not knowing what may happen.
Anytime you make a deal, you wince a little bit. You just hope that what you get back makes you smile a little bit more.
A 2-2 pitch.
I'm sure the Cardinals winced a little bit when they gave up Ernie Broglio. 20-game winner. Good young pitcher. But Lou Brock was enough to make you smile for about 20 years.
3-2. Ball 4-2 Rasmus. Here's Nick Punto. Inside, throw down for a pickoff, and not in time.
When's the last time we had a Phil Collins walk-up song at the big league level?
I do not remember anybody having that. I do think of Mike Tyson in The Hangover listening to that song.
I'll bet that's the tribute.
The highly acclaimed film, The Hangover.
I think that's it. I'm laughing because I've seen it.
2 balls and no strikes.
That's a good scene. Oh, it's all starting to make some sense to me. I'm gonna have to ask Nick if that is the tribute.
th grand slam for Carlos Lee. Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Carlos Lee with 16 career grand slams. Slapped the other way. Nice piece of hitting by Punto.
Second grand slam against P.J. Walters. And when I think of grand slams, I also think of Fernando Tatis. Can't leave him out.
Dodger Stadium. That's a base hit for Schumacher. Rasmus will score. The Cardinals lead it 9-5. Some insurance here in the 8th.
Just inside the bag. Off the line is Chris Johnson into the corner.
Here is Ryan Theriot. Theriot is hitless tonight. 1 out. Runners at first and second. Right-hander getting loose for Houston. There's a fly ball lifted into shallow right. Hunter Pence is over. Makes the catch. And he thinks there's 3 outs. Punto tags out from second to third. He thought there were 3 down.
And that kind of stuff happens when you're 33 and 68. Fly ball to right field. He's been out there a long time. It's been a long season. Out number 3. It's done. Oh, no, maybe it's not. And the only saving grace for him is he didn't flip the ball to somebody in the first row in the stands.
John Jay with 2 outs. Runners at the corners. Out of play. Fought off. Tough play here. There's no play. One scores 10-5, and Pujols will hit one more time.
And the Cardinals have knocked this out of being a save situation for Fernando Salas, and the only person who cares about that is Fernando Salas. This game started to get a little bit too close, but the Cardinals have responded here in the 8th inning with a couple of runs. Haven't really hit the ball that hard, but they found the holes. The walk to Rasmus, the real problem for Melancon, which might have been strike 3, by the way. And a blue pit. Ground ball hit the other way.
No need for that rally cap right now. Cardinals ahead by 5 runs.
Maybe it's a I want to see Albert go deep cat.
Runners at first and second. 2 down. 10-5 St. Louis. The pitch to Albert Pujols. Bouncer to second base. Force play there. Cardinals pick up 2. They lead it 10-5. Boggs in his second inning of work. The 0-1 pitch. That's a nasty pitch right there to a right-hander.
We've seen both sides with Boggs in his second inning. There's times where he's come out and he hasn't been as good. There's times where he's come out and he's blown the other team away. Good start for him. 2 quick strikes. Just keep pumping in those strikes. His stuff is good enough, Dan. He has great movement on his sinker. Pretty sharp slider. Not quite the same command of that pitch, but Cardinals had him in the closer's role at one point.
Here's a 1-2. Back to him. One away. With a win, the Cardinals will go to 54-48.
Chris Carpenter had a couple of hits in his last start. Now he thinks he's a hitter. I like him pitching better.
I do too. Angel Sanchez. One out, nobody on. Here's a 1-1 pitch by Boggs. Sanchez pinch hitting in the 9th spot in the lineup. Brad Mills. Houston on the verge of losing their 4th straight. One-two pitch. Charging Descalso. Tough play. Base hit.
Seen some nice plays out of Daniel Descalso. He really made some good plays at shortstop on this last road trip. Looked pretty smooth, just didn't get the right hop there.
Kyle McClellan is our Budweiser player of the game. 7 innings, 6 hits, a run. It was earned. No walks, and he struck out 5. Here's Michael Bourne with 1 out. They'll play behind the runner at first. One for Ford tonight. A single and a run scored. Back in the 6th inning. Chopper towards second. Out there. Now this could end it on a double play. Run down, the execution perfect, and the Cardinals hold on for the win. 10-5 the final.
Well done on the double play. Well done all the way around. Kyle McClellan with a nice start. Cardinals with plenty of offense. Yadier Molina going deep again. And a great way to start a 7-game homestand.
The Cardinals pick up the win. St. Louis now 54-48. It started with the fans coming back after a long road trip. They were treated to a lot of offense, especially from Colby Rasmus in this long home run for 420 feet. The defense very good tonight. Matter of fact, it ended in a double play.